Hey guys, today I'm going to tell the story about how I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, while making $8 an hour at a grocery store, and how that ultimately led me to becoming a millionaire who was financially free within the next 3 years. So a little bit about my backstory. I graduated from college and I entered good old corporate America, and I was really unhappy. I was working health insurance, making like 30 or 40 grand a year. I knew I needed to do something to stop having to trade time for dollars all the time. So I quit the job and I go get another job at a grocery store making $8 an hour, which made no financial sense whatsoever, but I needed some space to figure out what was next. At that job was where I met a guy who flipped houses, and he agreed to take me on kind of as a student. At the same time, I was reading this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which more than anything gave me a different way of thinking about money. And then whenever I was able to pair my new mindset shift with having somebody teach me a way to make passive income, that was when everything started to change for me, and I entered a career full-time as a real estate investor. And within a few years, I had accumulated a portfolio of 36 properties and had a net worth of 7 figures. I still lived in a small house I paid 80 grand for, and I drove a used car. So I had very little expenses and a lot of passive income. And so I was financially free, where I didn't have to work for money anymore. And I achieved that by the time I was 30 years old. Now I want to share the one big key takeaway that I got from reading this book. So that way, even if you don't read the book, you will be able to have this epiphany and understand what you actually need to do if you want to get off of that hamster wheel of trading time for dollars and be able to become financially free, so that you can spend your time doing what you love, hanging out with your friends, traveling, hobbies, starting a passion business. So I'm going to share that in this video, and if you get it, if it really clicks, then everything could change for you as well. And this could be the moment that sets in motion your journey to create enough passive income to cover your bills so that you can become financially free too. And this isn't a video about buying rental properties. That's just the way that I created enough passive income to pay my bills. There are plenty of ways that you can create passive income. That's just what I chose to do. And I want to say that even though I had the big epiphany that I'm going to share with you in this book, and I had a mentor, and I had chosen real estate as my vehicle, I was still absolutely terrified to buy my first property. Really, I owe it to my former business partner, Frank, to help me get over that finish line in terms of confidence. And because he and I really held each other up through that terrifying leap towards buying your first rental property. Like, we found a crappy house in a bad neighborhood that the seller only wanted $18,000 for. And we actually had the money to pay for it without getting a loan. Between the two of us, we were still absolutely terrified to buy this thing. We had flipped a bunch of houses, we had some cash, we had some experience, but there was just something different about owning a property. We did it, with each other's help and just sort of camaraderie, like, come on man, we'll figure this out, it's gonna be okay, we'll share the risk. That's kind of how we talked each other into it. But I know that even if you get it and you're like, I want this and I see the vision, there's probably gonna be that moment of fear and panic that you have in your journey too, where you're kind of bumping up against the edge of your comfort zone and what you're used to doing. And so I just want you to know that I experienced that too, and it's really inevitable if you want to make a big positive change in your life. So in order to really understand what it takes to become financially free, first let's look at what stops financial freedom. And the simple answer is bills. Bills are something, they're a pain in the ass, right? That they always have to be paid, no matter what. You have to pay a mortgage or rent. Sure, you could get a paid off property, but you're still gonna have expenses. You're gonna have groceries. You're gonna wanna go out to eat every now and then, right? You're gonna want your Netflix subscription. You're probably gonna wanna go on some vacations. You might want a new car, and so you're gonna have that car payment. I'm not really advocating here for absolute minimalism. I think that life is more fun when you get to have a nice house and go on some vacations and have the car that you want and not go overboard, but not like literally eat rice and beans every day either. And so since bills are a reality, since those are probably not going to go away for any of us, at least not anytime soon, then we need to look at a way to pay those things differently. Because here's what most people do, and this is the big takeaway that I want to share with you that helped me achieve financial freedom. In the book, he talks about how what most people do is they simply work for money and then they spend that money on their bills. It's just 2 steps: earn money, pay bills. And that is an endless hamster wheel. It's a never-ending cycle, right? Because we've already established that bills don't go away. And then if the only way that you can earn money to pay those bills is through trading your time, actively working, there is no end in sight. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. And so in the book, he proposes that you add 1 step to that equation. So remember, we have work for money and pay bills. Right in between those two, we're going to wedge an extra step. And that would be work for money and then invest as much of that money as you can towards creating passive income, and then let a combination of your passive income and the money you're still working for pay your bills. So in other words, when you work for money, you skim as much off the top as possible and put it into investments that specifically create passive income. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to take your entire paycheck and invest it because you have those bills to pay. So you're just going to do the best that you can. And in the beginning, you might only skim off enough to invest to make $50 a month in passive income. And that's not going to pay all your bills, but it will pay for like your Netflix subscription and maybe one other thing, right? You're slowly but surely getting all of your fixed expenses covered by money that you're not working for. And then one day when you get to the point where those investments that you've created can cover all of your bills, that is what financial freedom actually is. Financial freedom is not a big house or a nice car or how much money you have in the bank. It's whether or not the passive income you have coming in covers your bills or not. Now, I want to be honest with you guys. I shared in the beginning that it only took me 3 years to get enough rentals to pay all of my bills. I think that I had a bit of a unique advantage. And what that was is that I had started a house flipping business. And so I was actually earning multiple 6 figures per year in revenue, and my expenses were really low. I was living in this little house. I'd paid like 80 grand for it. The mortgage was like $400 a month. I had a paid off used Honda Accord that I drove around, and I didn't increase my expenses. Even though I had more income coming in, I was so just hardcore about I've got to live the philosophy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that I put as much money as I could into investments. And that makes a huge difference, right? The more money you have to invest, the faster this happens for you. So it's going to come down to how much income you earn, how much your expenses are, and what the gap is between those. How much are you actually able to skim off to invest? And then the other big part of it is how good are you at investing? You know, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said that people always ask him, "Hey Robert, is real estate a good investment?" And he says, "I don't know. Are you a good real estate investor?" And they'll say, "Well, how about stocks? Are stocks a good investment?" His answer is the same. "I don't know. Are you good at investing in stocks?" So to wrap this up, I want to give you guys some actionable steps that you can take to make this happen for you. There are 3 levers that you can pull in order to actually see some change start to happen in your life and start to create the passive income that you want to pay all your bills. Lever number 1 is your income. Can you increase your income? Can you get a raise? Can you start a business? Can you start a second business? Is there anything you can do to grow the amount of cash that you have coming in to invest? That is probably more than anything, the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference in you getting enough investment income, passive income, to pay for all of your bills so that you're financially free. Lever number 2 is lowering your expenses. Is there a way to lower your monthly required bills so that you create a gap? Again, we have your income is here and your expenses are here. If there's no gap between those, if you're living check to check, you're gonna be stuck there. And so the only way you can get out of that is to create a gap. And you can either, like I said already, increase your income, that creates a gap. Lowering your expenses makes that gap even bigger. And like I said, the reason I was able to do it fast, I had a huge gap between my income and my expenses. So widen your gap. The third lever is getting great at the investment class. You could choose real estate or stocks or even something like affiliate marketing. I get money from that type of stuff too, and it equates to me having a handful of rental properties just from recommending websites like KAJABI or PropStream for real estate analysis. It's pretty cool. There are a lot of ways to make passive income, but you really need to pick one and become a master at it, because your skill level will make a huge difference. For example, in real estate, there's actually ways to acquire properties with little to none of your own money, but it requires a different level of knowledge and understanding. So the width of the gap between your expenses and income matters less as you learn more about investing, because your skills grow and you have different tools in your toolbox. So I hope you guys like this video. I'll put the link to this book down in the description. I definitely recommend reading it so that you can have that big aha on a more complete level like I did. And if you liked this video, you may like another video in this series where I'm reviewing books that have changed my life. And if you've ever had things like anxiety or depression, which I know is a different subject than what we're talking about, then this video that I'm going to link here in the top corner may be of value for you, because this book that I review in that video is another one of the top 5 books that made the biggest positive impact on my life. So click that, watch that video now. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of it, and I will see you there.